All right, let's move on to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who last season 49-33, sixth in the West, but they made it to their second straight Western Conference Finals before running into the Thunder, losing in 5 games. And this summer, they re-signed a couple of their key big guys, Julius Randle for 3 years, $100 million, Naz Reid for 5 years, $125 million, losing Nickeil Alexander-Walker in the process. He goes to the Atlanta Hawks, signing a 4-year, $62 million deal. Joey, where do you want to start off with the Minnesota Timberwolves? What are some things you're going to be watching heading into the season?
Can you pull up their roster?
Yes, sir. Here is their team. Well, it looks about the same as last season.
Immediately, what Nick was talking about in the pre-pod lobby is the whole of who is going to run that ball if it's not Conley or Ant Edwards. Like, DiVincenzo is pretty disappointing in my opinion, at least last year. Dillingham was unplayable. They got rid of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, or just let him leave. They're going to be a good team. It's just, I think that's a major hole. That is a major hole, is their backup, who's going to handle the ball. Because I know DiVincenzo, it says he's a point guard, but come on, he's just a spot-up shooter, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, when DiVincenzo's out there, I feel like Ant's going to be doing that.
Yeah.
But you're right about Dillingham. He needs to step up. He needs to be the guy for them. Like, he needs to be the one who's taking Conley's minutes this year, and that's what I expect Minnesota to experiment with early in the season, because it's pretty much what they need to have happen for them to win some games later in the year.
They just have to know.
It's just, this team is just difficult because, again, they've made the conference finals the last 2 years. But I was not too pleased, or not pleased, but impressed with their conference final run last year. I talked about it before on the podcast. They got to play a couple of very favorable matchups for them with the Lakers that had no size. Same with the Warriors with no size, and they also didn't have Steph Curry, and they looked awful against a legit Thunder team in the conference finals. So, second straight year that I'm calling a run, I don't know, a fluke, but I'm not buying into the run that much. I don't think that the Wolves will do anything like that again this season. And outside of really Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels, this team is quickly aging, and particularly with two of the most important positions in basketball, the point guard and the center. Because Mike Conley is entering his 19th season in the league. He'll be 38 years old by the time the season starts. Rudy Gobert, entering year 13, is already 33 years old. And both those guys are coming off of very subpar seasons, especially in the playoffs.
Well, the two other guys on their roster, Dillingham is one. And then I saw these two guys out in Vegas when I was there. Joan Behringer had 7 blocks right in front of me, and that was incredible to watch. And then Terrence Shannon Jr. also had a very good summer. So those two guys are going to have to step up to fill those, aging roles.
I was a big fan of Shannon Jr. at Illinois. High flyer, crazy athleticism, kind of almost like an Ant Edwards.
Yeah, so they absolutely need some of those younger role players to step up because, if they're not able to, this is one of the more top-heavy, shallow teams in the league. Like,
agreed.
Even 2 of their 5 starters with Conley and Gobert, I think, could be question marks heading into this season. And then the bench, of course, Naz Reid is fantastic. Great that they were able to re-sign him, but even then, I feel like there's
just thin. It's thin.
It's a very thin team, and you talk about question marks. This team has a ton of question marks because even Rob Dillingham, I'm not even sure if he can be their starting point guard of the future. From what we saw in his rookie season and just his play style, at the current moment, I feel like he caps out as a 6th man off the bench. I don't know if he's the starter for the future.
We'll see, yeah.
Ben, what do you think about the Timberwolves roster heading into the season?
Yeah, I think it's fit with the depth, as you guys said. But I do believe in Terrence Shannon Jr. off the bench. He showed some pretty good moments in the playoffs last year. They played him in Summer League, too, this year, and he looked dominant in Summer League. So I believe in him. And Naz Reid, of course, still be great off the bench. But, I'm thinking, with Rudy Gobert aging this year and stuff, that they're just going to need Naz Reid to play even more. Play more of the starters because Naz Reid, he could play well both ends, and he, he, he might look even better. I mean, I think they're going to need him, just play even better this year. And Rob Dillingham, definitely they should experiment him with minutes at the start of the year. And yeah, I'm not sure if he could be a starter either. I'm thinking like the same way as Miles on that, but yeah, Dillingham's going to be an interesting player to watch this year, see what he's about. And DiVincenzo could be, a good spot up shooter off the bench. So, I mean, overall, they have pretty good scoring guys. It's just, I worry about their ball handling, and I wonder if they could be just good enough defensively to where they can really compete.
Yeah, I mean it's just tricky with the Timberwolves. Not at all. I don't think that they're going to be a bad team. They're not a bad team. They're just not as deep as some of these other teams that are really looking to compete in the league. Now, of course, we haven't even mentioned Anthony Edwards yet, who had an incredible year last year. Of course, the superstar who what did he end up ranking in the top 5 list? I believe.
No, you guys. Oh yeah, he did. No one had him 5th, but he was our 5th guy.
Yes, that's right. So collectively, he's somehow the 5th best player in the league in our minds, top 5 player, and he should have a very good season again. I mean, he really improved his 3-point shot. It was one of the great 3-point shooting years in the history of the league. When you take a look at the difficulty of the shots last year, he's just going to need some other help on that end of the floor. Of course, Randall was good. But I think someone that's going to need to be important for them is Jaden McDaniels offensively, because in the playoffs, we saw times where, like against the Lakers in the first round, he torched them in the first round. He was huge. He's got good size, and he's a pretty decent shooter. He's improved his range since he's come into the league. I think they need to use him as more of an offensive piece this year and not as much of a spot-up guy, because they're going to need some more offense from some of these guys, outside of Edwards and Randall, because, again, there are just a lot of question marks to me with this team.
Yeah, I was thinking about while you were saying that, like half their roster in Conley and Gobert and Randall and Reed, like thrive kind of in the half court, slowing it down. And then you got a top 5 guy who just plays fast and thrives playing fast. Jaden McDaniels is kind of the same way, where you just want to be ball pressure and get the ball to the opposite baseline as fast as you can. So it's a contrast there, and there's question marks like we've been saying.
Well, that fast-paced style could be where those younger guys like Dillingham and Shannon fit in.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see who kind of fits in with the Wolves this year. I mean, the question that's overlying with all this stuff is just what is going to be their identity this season, and we'll have to see what it is. And we're talking about experimenting minutes there. I mean, it's going to be tough in the West to experiment minutes because you can't really lose those backup minutes if Dillingham's out there and not playing well. I mean, it's just going to be tough.